Hi, I'm Annika Bonus, and I'm a junior at TWU. And this is my first time kind of making a video like this, so please excuse me if I'm kind of awkward. And also, please excuse me if I mispronounce anyone's names. I'm going to try and say them correctly like I've heard them said, but we'll see what happens. So I really enjoyed having these last couple weeks to kind of think about these essays because we started looking at them the week before spring break. And then that week before, I think I just read each essay once for the discussion forum, which I know I should have read them more, but I was kind of under a time crunch. So it was really cool this week getting to go back and read both essays several times and kind of see how my viewpoints changed. I feel like I just gained more understanding on kind of what each author was saying. So, I kind of want to summarize Achebe's point. So, I think that the thing that I really picked out from the essay, Achebe's essay on an image of Africa, racism, and Conrad's Heart of Darkness, I think what I thought was most interesting was, I guess, this idea that Europe, like Western culture, is the foil to Africa. And I think that Achebe made this really clear in the examples that he used. Like one specific one was whenever Conrad, I guess Marlowe through Conrad, sees the savages and thinks of them as like kin. Like, even though I think he sees very clear similarities between himself and those people, he can't really think of them as brothers because that would be too equal, you know? Um, he even talks about the rivers, how the Thames River is like superior to the Congo, and how like the land in Africa and the people in Africa are ugly compared to Europe. Um, and I really like Shibe's point on how like Conrad's viewpoint on imperialism, like he wasn't condoning it. He was very much so like revealing the ugliness of imperialism, but I think he subconsciously like projects his ideas. And there might be ideas that he has or ideas that were taught to him about how Africa is inferior. And so I just thought that was interesting that like while his viewpoint on imperialism like isn't bad, I don't think, um, he just kind of subconsciously reveals these racist ideas that he has. And I thought that that was really interesting because honestly, when I read the story, I was really just viewing the story and I wasn't thinking about Conrad's motives through it. So that really helped me just pick apart and analyze the story in Heart of Darkness. I think like looking at the author's thoughts kind of helps me like, I don't know, parse through the storylines. And it kind of helps me understand the characters better because, I mean, all the characters came from Conrad's head. I also thought that Ashibe's essay really made a good emotional appeal. I think that he did a great job of using anecdotes. Like at the very beginning of his essay, it's all anecdotal, and he uses these personal examples that really make me feel like I have a connection to him and like I know him personally. So I feel like that was a great way to set up his essay. And then, I mean, he used language that was very familiar to me. So it was really much easier for me to understand. Like, his essay was very accessible. So, yeah, as I said, I really like the format. I really like his succession of his points. And I like that he kind of reiterates things and he makes things very, very clear. But I definitely I felt the emotional pull of his essay. And I feel like also it can be really easy to do an emotional appeal with racism because that's such an identity thing and it hurts my heart so much to think about racism. So I feel like he kind of obviously went for that emotional appeal. And I mean, I think he did it really tastefully. So then the essay that I kind of had a harder time with was, I think, kind of obviously Said's essay. Um, his essay is called Two Visions in Heart of Darkness. So, okay, I think kind of breaking these two arguments down is that like the first argument kind of says that Africa is dark and Europe is the greater power and that it's good that there's imperialism here. That's like it's kind of good that they rule. And then the second argument kind of talks about imperialism being something that was normal at the time and not something that would continue in the post-colonial world, that it was like necessary at that time. I don't know, I just kind of struggle with this because I feel like as I've been reading Heart of Darkness and just kind of thinking about the story, I really feel like cultural understanding is very important. And obviously I don't understand everything about imperialism. I just really think that understanding of the African culture would go a long way. Like just because Africa is different than Europe doesn't mean it's bad. Um, and yes, like obviously in Western culture, we enjoy a lot of privileges. Um, and we enjoy a lot of things that would probably make life in Africa better for the Africans. And I think it's good that we bring those things over there. But I think that we can't just assume that the way we do things is better because the way that culture is in Africa isn't bad just because it's different. It's just different. And so I think within Said's essay, his second argument is more convincing that imperialism was just kind of necessary at that time. But even then, I just kind of question that because, I mean, obviously that era of imperialism ended. And so I think that, one can argue that it was just natural. I mean, but also like someone stepped forward and ended it. Like a group of people stepped forward and ended it because it's obviously not happening now. And so I think that we can kind of use that fear and ignorance as like an excuse for why imperialism was okay. But really, when you think about it, I don't think that holds up very well. And then also, I don't know, with Said's essay, he really appealed to thought and logic, I thought. I thought his language was kind of elevated, which is good. It just took me a bit longer to kind of understand. And that kind of made it hard, I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, he's very thorough in his explanations, and I really enjoyed that. I just think also like being a more emotional person, I just more so felt Ashibe's essay. But I thought that Said did a good job of really, really appealing to logic. He gave multiple arguments. He explained them very thoroughly. So I feel like he was very intellectual. But I think that overall, I found Ashibe's argument to be more compelling. It just really resonates with me. Also with the ideas just of cultural acceptance. Um, I don't know. In Said's essay, I just don't like the notion that imperialism was best for Africa, and I feel like he really thought that. I just feel like that's just kind of ignorant and reveals pride, I guess, in Western culture. So I feel like that loss of culture that imperialism brings is just kind of a tragedy. really just shouldn't be celebrated. Um, and so I suppose that, I mean, those are my thoughts on it. I really enjoyed getting to read both essays. I really enjoyed their differing arguments. I feel like I know more about Heart of Darkness for having read these two. And I really enjoyed the opportunity to kind of read these essays or read Heart of Darkness through Conrad's eyes, which I hadn't really done up to this point. So I feel like that was a very just valuable exercise. And I also thought it was really cool just to kind of examine the messages that are in the story, kind of like veiled beneath. Like, as Ashibe said, kind of the racist undertones, and they were things that I didn't really question, which makes me very upset. And so I thought it was just really valuable to start thinking about the ways in my own life that I have viewed Africa as the foil to Western culture. Even though, like, as I said earlier, just because they're different doesn't mean that they're bad. And so I'm really excited just to kind of carry that viewpoint into my own life, and just to kind of start knocking down those false perspectives and false stereotypes that I know have been fed to me by Western culture. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this and listening, and I look forward to your feedback. Thank you.